Kim's insulin to the mansion where they were staying, where a doctor might be. By 4:45 p.m., the motor coach stops at Virginia Beach, and a Land Rover pulled up alongside. Mr. Underwood wants me to take you, two boys, to his estate in Fort Story, the driver said in a Texas accent. "We're all ready," JR said. By 5 p.m., JR and Ken arrived at the $210 million sprawling estate of Scotty Underwood, a man who served under the Reagan, Bush, and Clinton administrations in the Department of Energy, the Federal Commodities and Futures Commission, and now assistant to the Goodwill Ambassador for the Small Business Administration in the U.S. government. His wife, Michelle Weiss, headed toward the door just as Gerald and Ken walked in. "Well, I got to go to Washington, D.C. I'm late. My brother chartered us a jet to go home to Chicago." The white Hispanic woman with thinning dark brown hair said as she got into her 1992 Mazda and pulled it out of the garage. As she left, Scotty turned to Betsy Hendrick in the mansion parlor and said, I hate to admit it, but I have to say is that our marriage is over. Just finished." Elizabeth Swain bristled. "So just like that, you're going to end a second marriage?" "No, a third marriage and divorce. Just like that." "Mama, not again this time," Betsy Hendricks said. "Jim's on the way. Try to be social." 11:12 a.m. With Ken's insulin arriving, JR and Ken had just finished the cinnamon rolls for breakfast, thanks to the help of the mansion cook, Matilda. Now, they are playing contract rummy, and this time, JR is winning for a change. Betsy Hendrick, meanwhile, is in the beach and swimming, as her mother is sitting in the front porch room, listening to George Strait and Ricky Skaggs. Meanwhile, in Scotty Underwood's office, Jim said he wanted to talk about him taking over some business, while Jim is chasing possibilities for the Clinton administration for over 3 months. The trip would involve all the East Coast states that voted for Bill Clinton. By 11:47 a.m., JR and Ken decided to go for a swim until 12 p.m., at which time they would change and get ready to go to a special meeting at the Founders conservative coalition, which would also have a major lecture tonight at the Robertson building at Regent University. As the young people are swimming, Jim and Scotty discuss their future. Claude said if Jim got the job at the SBA or any of the federal government agencies within the Clinton, under Bill Clinton, he himself could help run the company. Or they could both run the company with Scotty doing it more remotely. But Claude would work the ranch. By 2:20 p.m., meanwhile, in the White House, Bill Clinton is in the Oval Office after a meeting with the Cabinet, the Senate Foreign Relations, and the National Security Council on the policy towards Serbia and Bosnia. President Clinton agreed with Lloyd Bentsen about a more progressive, staggered approach to solve the problem in Bosnia and Serbia. Meanwhile, he thinks about another problem: the angry resignations of Jack Robertson and the incoming resignation of Scotty Underwood from the Federal Commodities Futures Trading Committee. Vice President Al Gore made the reassurance to the president: hey, when it comes to transportation, SEC, and the Department of Agriculture, I will talk to these people if need be. You go on your vacation tomorrow in Martha's Vineyard. We will deal with this Jimi Hendrix whenever we we'll cross that bridge whenever we can. The Vice President leaves the Oval Office. By 7:15 p.m., J.R., Ken, and the small group of J.R.'s family have ravioli in the house of Scotty Underwood. In some ways, it was the son himself, because of the impending dissolution of yet another marriage. Granted, his second wife died in a skiing accident, of which he was newly charged with murder until Jim Hendrick went to the authorities and demanded the charges be dropped. Meanwhile, back in Odessa, Christine breathes a sigh of relief. For the next 3.5 days, she would have the house all to herself before her parents and grandmother come back home. Claude has already gone for his condo in Odessa, Texas. By 8:05 p.m., J.R. and Ken are at a seminar in the conservative Christian leadership. It was a free speech seminar. It was the keynote speech being Pat Robertson. The plan was to be at the speech seminar until 9:30, in which they got to return home, back to the estate and get ready for the big day tomorrow. By 10:30 p.m., on the way back to Fort Story, Ken picks up the phone and calls Brad. JR's dad wanted notes, so we took notes, Ken said. Beautiful. Let's have a conference call tomorrow. JR's dad set up a back room for us at Ruth's Chris. The next morning at 10:30 a.m. at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Ken arrives, picks up the phone, and calls Brad. Let me tell you something, Brad, Ken said. Sometimes I've discovered this summer that I'm starting to really not like you. Well, when this is done, you'll have me to thank, Brad said. JR overhears the conversation. What the hell is he thinking? It doesn't matter, man. All I'm saying is I don't trust him on some political strategies. He's too old world politically. Dave Smith walked in. Watch it, man. I'm old world. All right. We don't have any time to waste, Ken said. JR's getting suited and ready. I'm taking your car service to the chopper. Smith brightened. Yeah, I got to take this 14-year-old kid on a tour. My real car is outside, JR said. Remember, Lisa Wesley from Philadelphia. Remember Lisa Wesley from Philadelphia? She's going to be there with me to interview the priest. JR gets into the car with Lisa driving when Ken calls. So, pardon the ignorance here, JR, but why do I have to be on the phone with Brad about this whole thing? Shouldn't we have a strategist that is, shall we say, more sociable? We need Brad for the software and computer hookup to transfer any notes I have to my father. Someone with a talking computer wouldn't work in this case, Ken. By 11:20 a.m. Okay. So Lisa, I hope you're ready to help me with this interview. Almost like this on radio, JR said. Yes, sir, Lisa said, exiting the car. As JR is interviewing the priest, Dave Smith is taking David McDonald, the 14-year-old boy, on a tour of the Old Domination Episcopal Church in Virginia Beach. They spot a nun sitting in the back office listening to a woman on talk radio. At 1 p.m., JR and Dave and him head toward the car. All right, let's go. We'll get in the car, Dave said. The McDonald kid's parents are on the way to pick him up. They head back to Texas tomorrow.